In times of crisis, when uncertainty clouds every decision and chaos threatens stability, few thinkers offer guidance as timeless and relevant as Niccolò Machiavelli. Known primarily for his insights into power and politics, Machiavelli's reflections provide a pragmatic blueprint for managing crises with foresight, resilience, and strategic cunning. Silence. This video explores Machiavelli's approach to crisis management, how leaders and individuals can not only survive turbulent times, but emerge stronger and more influential. By understanding and applying his principles, sanctity of silence, you can transform uncertainty into opportunity and steer your course through the storm with confidence. Machiavelli believed that the first step to effectively managing any crisis is to deeply understand its nature and the fundamental behaviors it triggers in people. In his writings, he emphasized that crises reveal true human character and test the strength of leadership. A crisis, by definition, disrupts normalcy, forcing swift decisions amid fear and uncertainty. Machiavelli observed that human beings are often driven by self-preservation instincts during such times, which can lead to panic, distrust, or opportunism. In The Prince, Machiavelli remarks, "Men, in general, judge more from appearances than from reality, and most often what they seem to be is different from what they are." This highlights how crises distort perceptions, making it crucial for leaders to look beyond surface reactions and anticipate hidden motives. Recognizing that fear and self-interest dominate crisis behavior allows leaders to craft responses that account for these drives, rather than naively assuming cooperation or calm. Machiavelli also stressed the importance of maintaining order and clear communication to counter chaos, noting that a wise ruler ought to establish laws and institutions which anticipate human weaknesses. In practice, this means that during crises, leaders observe how people react, not just emotionally but strategically, and prepare for shifts in loyalty, morale, and public sentiment. Understanding the psychological underpinnings of crisis helps avoid being blindsided by unexpected rebellions or defections. Machiavelli's insight encourages modern leaders and individuals to accept that crises will always test human nature at its rawest. By anticipating fear-driven actions and planning accordingly, one can navigate uncertainty with greater control and avoid common pitfalls that lead to failure. Machiavelli's writings repeatedly underscore the value of adaptability in the face of changing circumstances. He believed that rigidity is a fatal flaw in crisis management, as the environment during turbulent times is fluid and unpredictable. In The Prince, he famously advises leaders to be both the lion and the fox, strong enough to confront challenges directly, but cunning enough to evade traps and adjust tactics as needed. This duality captures the essence of adaptability, balancing force and strategy. Crises often bring sudden shifts in power dynamics, resources, and alliances. Machiavelli observed that leaders who cling stubbornly to past methods or outdated plans risk being overwhelmed. He cautioned, "Whosoever desires constant success must change his conduct with the times." This principle applies equally to individuals managing personal or professional crises. Flexibility means being willing to pivot strategies, learn from emerging information, and discard ineffective approaches quickly. Sanctity of silence. It requires humility to acknowledge uncertainty and resilience to embrace change without losing sight of core objectives. Machiavelli's approach also emphasizes proactive adjustment rather than reactive scrambling. By anticipating possible scenarios and preparing contingency plans, one gains the capacity to respond swiftly and decisively. For example, businesses during economic crises must innovate their models. Political leaders must recalibrate policies to maintain stability. Ultimately, Machiavelli teaches that survival and success in crises depend on the ability to evolve continuously. Those who adapt maintain power, influence, and relevance, while those who resist change become obsolete or defeated. In Machiavelli's view, crises demand leaders who do not hesitate or waver. Indecision in uncertain times breeds confusion, weakens authority, and emboldens adversaries. He famously asserted that, "It is better to be impetuous than cautious, for fortune is a woman, and it is necessary, if you wish to master her, to conquer her by force." This call for boldness does not advocate recklessness, but rather decisive action, informed by careful judgment. A leader must seize the initiative, make timely choices, and communicate confidence, even when full information is lacking. Of silence, this helps to reassure followers and deter enemies. Machiavelli also highlighted the importance of managing perception. During a crisis, a leader's image as strong and resolute can be as powerful as actual deeds. Projecting decisiveness cultivates trust and discourages dissent. For example, during a political upheaval, a leader who swiftly consolidates power and addresses threats reduces the risk of fragmentation or rebellion. In contrast, hesitation can create a vacuum that opponents exploit. Beyond politics, this principle is vital in organizational or personal crises. Whether managing a failing project or a family emergency, decisiveness ensures momentum and clarity. Machiavelli reminds us that fortune favors the bold, encouraging us to act boldly and strategically in turbulent times. Machiavelli is often associated with realpolitik, a pragmatic approach that prioritizes results over ideals. In times of crisis, this perspective becomes essential because rigid adherence to principles can hinder effective action. Machiavelli famously argued that the ends justify the means, meaning that achieving stability or success may require morally ambiguous decisions. This does not suggest cruelty for its own sake, but rather a realistic acknowledgement that crises may demand tough choices to prevent greater harm. Leaders and individuals must be willing to evaluate situations based on practical outcomes rather than idealistic expectations. For instance, during a financial crisis, drastic cost-cutting or unpopular reforms might be necessary to ensure survival. Machiavelli's pragmatism also means recognizing when alliances are temporary and when betrayals are possible. He warned leaders to be prepared to act swiftly to secure their position, even if it means breaking promises or changing loyalties. This approach challenges conventional morality, but offers a clear-eyed strategy for crisis management. Prioritize what works and what sustains power and stability, rather than what is merely desirable or virtuous. In today's complex world, adopting this pragmatic mindset helps leaders navigate competing interests, conflicting values, and unpredictable variables that crises inevitably bring. Silence. Machiavelli understood that thriving in crises is not just about reaction, but about preparation. Building resilience means fortifying one's position before disaster strikes. He advised rulers to strengthen defenses, secure loyal supporters, and develop robust institutions that can withstand shocks. "In you, the prince," he wrote, "a prince ought to have no other aim or thought, nor select anything else for his study, than war and its rules and discipline. This metaphor for preparation applies broadly to any crisis context. Preparation includes anticipating threats, shoring up resources, and cultivating networks of support. Resilience involves mental toughness and the ability to endure hardships without losing resolve. Machiavelli also stressed the importance of self-reliance balanced with alliances. He warned against overdependence on others, noting that men forget more quickly the death of their father than the loss of their patrimony. This emphasizes protecting your own assets and interests as a foundation for crisis endurance. In modern terms, this could mean diversifying income streams before an economic downturn, building emergency plans before organizational disruptions, or strengthening personal skills and mental fortitude before facing adversity. By investing in preparation and fortification, Machiavelli teaches that crises become manageable challenges rather than insurmountable disasters. This proactive stance is the cornerstone of long-term success in uncertain times. Machiavelli's timeless guide to crisis management reveals that thriving in uncertain times demands a blend of deep understanding, adaptability, bold leadership, pragmatic realism, and thorough preparation. His insights remind us that crises are inevitable but not insurmountable. By embracing human nature as it is, rather than how we wish it to be, and by acting decisively and strategically, we can turn chaos into opportunity. Sanctity of silence. The lessons drawn from Machiavelli's work challenge to shed illusions and face reality with courage and clarity. Whether in political upheaval, economic downturn, or personal trials, these principles equip us to not just survive, but grow stronger through adversity. Ultimately, sanctity of silence. The path through crisis is not a straight line, but a dynamic journey requiring constant learning and adjustment. Silence. Machiavelli's wisdom endures because it speaks to the core of human experience. Our struggle to wield power, maintain control, and find stability amidst uncertainty.